is a simple 3x3 metre tarp. You can get them for a decent one for probably about 20 quid, nothing more, nothing less, maybe about 30 quid now with everything else going up. You don't need, you could spend 80 quid on them, 90 quid, you really could, but you don't need to. And I'm all about buying good equipment that is cost effective. There's no point buying a £900 knife when you can get a decent one for 30, 40 quid that will do exactly the same job, and you won't be crying when you lose it in the wood one day. So that is kind of my setup. But the British Army still use MTP tarps just like this, and people have different ways of setting it up. They'll normally prescribe as a 2-man shelter for this. It also doubles up as a stretcher if you need it. And they'll go for a lean-to or an A-frame as most common types, but there are hundreds of ways. One way I really like, especially if there's no woods around, is getting a good stick with a tennis ball in the end and making a 3x3 tarp into a tent. Works, you've got loads of room in there, you can fit 2 people comfortably, and you can also fold the flaps over to make it nice and neat. You don't need to. To get yourself off the ground then, there are lots of people have camp beds, they're clunky, lots of people go for nice big inflatable roll mats. I've even seen someone take a double inflatable mattress out into the woods. I'm like, that's a little bit too bougie for me. I like to get off the ground using, when I've got trees around me, a hammock. Now this was the cheapest hammock I could find on eBay or Amazon or other online retailers. And that was the first one I started with, and it done me right for a good couple of years. Hasn't broken. I still sometimes take it out to the woods when I'm going for a walk, because I can set it up and then just lay there and feel like I'm Blue from Jungle Book swinging in the trees. And it works. But I've also upgraded there's a little bit of a midge net so I don't get bitten during the night, but also an under blanket, which is a bit like a sleeping bag that goes underneath the hammock. Reason being, it keeps your body warm, because you lose a lot of your heat through your back and into the ground. That's why we have roll mats and things like that to get you off the ground. An under blanket is the same for a hammock. You need something just to give you a bit of insulation underneath it. A good old cheap and cheerful sleeping bag. This one is a one Tigress one. I think it cost me 20, 30 quid. Again, online special, nothing outrageous there. And there's and I've got a few things in there to set up my tarp. Now, how you can set up tarps, you can do different things. You can do ridge lines, you can do all sorts of different methods. This is a cheap and cheerful way that literally was a long bit of cordage, every 10 centimetres or so, a knot tied in it, double loops, put round a stick that I found in the woods and whittled myself, and that does a trick. Wrap it round, tuck it through there, pull it tight. You can cinch them down really nicely, because you can literally get it through there, find the point, and that will hold quite a bit of strength. And then also you can put little loops and knots on all your gear and use it as like a little, if you will, clothesline in the middle of the woods. Like, it's a cheap and cheerful way of doing it. But I am debating whether to make a slightly nicer case for it. It's a Dyneema cord, so it's pretty sturdy. It's last me probably, it's still using it, and it's probably what, 7 years old now. And again, you can pick them up quite cheap. To set it up, it's simple enough to just put a loop around one of the trees and pull it tight, and then you can then tie your tarp off to one of the knots. These are Prossic knots, nothing outrageously. It's basically a loop of material doubled over a couple of times, and it will cinch down and hold under tension, and it can be easily slackened off and then go along the line. I'm going to use the tree behind you. When I'm going for a hammock setup, I'm probably going to go for going as high as I can, get on my tippy toes, and I'm a short bloke as it is, and try and get as high as I can up there, just because I know the higher you can get, it makes it a little bit easier when I want to start setting things up. Now, I just slide these along. These are just going to hold on to the top. And I'm going to go to all the way down. I'm going to go to this tree over here. And a lot of people that, has anybody got hammocks or know hammocks quite well?
Yep.
You're probably thinking, hammock going in between that stretch is a distance, isn't it? And most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not most people. The reason I like to go a good distance between trees is also the main reason I always look up before I set up. Is if you look up, if there's any deadfall at all, don't set up there. Because if a trunk or a big old branch falls on you, you're not having a good night and you're probably not going to be waking up the next morning with a clear head, if you wake up at all. So it's not worth it, and therefore I may have to move quite a bit and find trees that are quite a distance apart. Now, having trees that are distance apart, if you haven't got a particular setup on a hammock, is a pain in the arse, to put it in mild thing. So most hammocks would not stretch that far, but I can have a hammock that can go between these two trees or these two trees with a little bit of help. So firstly, go and roll them. There's two ends on these ones, one with nice little loops to make it easier, and one with one loop that goes round. I'd always say about head height, but because this is quite a long distance, I'm going to go a little bit higher. Now, on the end of my lovely hammock, I have these really long pieces of cord. And someone once said, what the hell are they for? Does anybody know, just out of matter of interest? These are called whoopee slings. Now, the whole point of a whoopee sling is I can go up, they can be adjusted as much as you need and can tighten it up. So not only have I got these loops, I can literally go down and go, let's say if I wanted to go as far as possible, but I can also tighten it as much as I want. So I can just make it a little bit tighter or a little bit looser and don't have to go up a whole loop. Now, it all unravels like so. Now, come over this end, because this one's actually all the way tight, or not all the way tightened, but pretty much close to the way tightened. It is, in essence, a loop that goes through itself and then holds on. So I can loosen it up there or pull this side to tighten it. So I can loosen it right off and I can go, let's say, right on the top one here, or I can go a few down and it's there, but I can then just go along and tighten it where I want. And I'll probably want to tighten it this side a little bit more. So I can just pull it tight as much as I want and I can get that pretty tight. I'm probably going to loosen that side up a bit more. But just by pulling a cord. And yes, I'm a fat knacker and it holds my weight. So it can hold pretty much anyone else's weight. When it's tight, a lot of people find it really hard to kind of loosen it off. But if you find, you just pull that there and loosen that part off, it then makes it easy to pull that called back through. So,
Is that a bought item or did you make that yourself?
these can be bought. You can make them yourself. I'm dumb, thick and stupid, so I'm going to go with someone's done it that's much cleverer than I to make these, and they're about 20 quid.
Right.
I think I paid probably less than that when I bought them. Again, these are made by with Dyneema cord. I think these particular ones were made by DD Hammocks, and they are quite. And this doesn't want to loosen up now for some reason. Why are you doing that to me?
It's only because we're watching.
That's
Yeah,
it.
of course
That's
it is,
exactly
yeah.
what it is.
Be
There you
perfect.
go. There we go. They're much easier to loosen off when they're not under tension, so you can just. That's why I still have the carabiners there just to take them off quickly. But again, these are also very useful because if it's raining and this is outside of your tarp, it'll come to here and then it'll drip down this, and use that as a drip line.
I guess you could pull that tight once you're in.
You could even do that,
And
yeah.
and make it, if it's
Yeah.
case it's sagging too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I will pull this because it has to go away from the hammock, pull it, but then 9 times out of 10 you sit in it and it will sag a little bit. And I've got it that way round for some reason. I normally have it the other way round, but once it's there, I sit in it, get my fat arse in it, see how low it will go, and I just kind of sit there. I'm always careful underneath what am I going to land on if it all goes pating and I'm sat down. But that will then naturally sag a little bit and I will still tighten it when I want to. Because actually I might want to be off the ground a little bit more. And the tighter you have it, the flatter you are. A lot of these will come with, this is the under blanket and this is the hammock separate. The reason I went, again, this is a cheap hammock, nothing special. It has this midge net and it stays as the tightest part between the points of the hammock. There's nothing else holding it up, so I don't need any extra poles or anything like that. It also comes with a little strap if I want to stop myself swaying at night. Some hammocks do, so I can peg that out and it'll stop me swaying in the wind. But 9 times out of 10, unless it's windy, you'll be fine. And it will have all the pockets like you would do normally in your tent. But that's inside the hammock, so you might have your phone or your night light or whatever you want inside there. Realistically, you're going to be under a huge tarp, especially if you have a 3x3 metre. That's going to go out quite a bit, especially if you go by diagonal. Other diagonal. And because that ridge line is there, it is really quite cheap and easy, and I can pull this along where I want it.
That ridge line you put on yourself, or was it already there?
The ridge line I put up a little bit earlier.
No, the sorry, the Prosit knots.
Prosit knots, they came with it. It was a set
wow.
that was all done for me.
Because you could add more.
You can add to
You
it,
could add more,
absolutely.
yeah, that's what I was
And all it takes is just literally a loop, and if you know what pressing is, literally just a loop that's looped around itself a few times, and then you can just pull it tight and get as much tension in there as you want. And I probably will want to go this way a little bit more. Right. If I leave that down for a second, I want to come this way. With Prosit knots, once they come under tension, they're a bit of a pain, but if you just bring them all together and just bend them slightly, they then become easy to slide again. So easy to reuse. They're probably the easiest kind of knots to work with for setting up tarps under pressure. Now, I didn't start off with this. I started off with things like this, and I still use this if I'm ever going out and I just want to keep it simple. And I normally use this when I'm out with the cadets, showing them that I can do a ridge line with that as well, just the same. I used to also have things like that tied off to all the corners so I can use it exactly the same way as well. But I'm getting older, I like a little bit of comfort in life, so I'm going to go with things that look a little bit more like this. you can get it nice and tight, that's going to stay there. Then you just need to peg down. 2 pegs, simple as that. Piece of pea, no issues. One side, one the other. And again, you don't need to go for the glaring bright orange guy lines. I went with them because it came with it. It was free. Why would I go for anything more expensive than free? And realistically, it does the job. But also, if someone trips up, then I can laugh at them. It's their own fault. The one main reason why I particularly like a diagonal is if I know there's coming heavy rain, I can also tie off to these loops here and pull that out further, and that'll give me more space underneath. Now, it's completely up to you what pegs you use. The best thing with tarps as well, where the straps and the guy lines, stick with that 45-degree angle as best you can, because that's going to keep the best tension in that line. Now,
Dreamcatcher Radio is about capturing and creating dreams through music, chat, and debate. Empowering expression, enriching society. A go-to place for unsigned musical talent. A radio station which listens to its audience. Free speech, vibrant, engaging. Stream worldwide 24/7. Events, competitions, promotions. Always keen to have a listening ear. Contact us. hello@dreamcatcherradio.com.
Dreamcatcher Radio.